You know what's crazy? Everyone keeps talking about how strong Saitama is, but nobody's ready to admit that Tatsumaki might be closer to him than we think. Yeah, I said it. Tatsumaki, the Taiyi, the tiny green-haired esper that fans keep calling arrogant, might actually be the second most dangerous being in One Punch Man. And the wild part? We still haven't seen her full power. You think she's just throwing rocks and psychic waves? Nah. Tatsumaki's been holding back this entire time.
Tatsumaki versus Saitama. Who is the strongest? Let's find out. Tatsumaki was furious because of the blister group's incompetence. The life of her precious little sister, Fubuki, had been in danger. Calling them all useless nuisances that Fubuki didn't need anymore, she demanded that they cut all ties or she'd cut them herself. Channeling her Esper power, she promised to kill them, just enough said they wouldn't quite die, ensuring that they'd never be able to work as heroes again. They all shrieked in horror as Fubuki, who couldn't speak, feared the worst, but just then a hand suddenly gripped Tatsumaki's arm. It was Saitama. Now Tatsumaki was really mad. Saitama wasn't in the best mood either. It was clear to him that Tatsumaki was just like her sister. To him, she was going way too far just to lecture Fubuki, and he didn't understand why heroes should have to fight each other.
Tatsumaki isn't just strong, she's terrifyingly efficient. She doesn't need flashy punches or world-ending techniques. She bends reality itself. Her telekinesis isn't just power, it's control. When you really break down her fights, especially during the Monster Association arc, you realize she's doing things that don't even make sense under the One Punch Man logic. She's casually ripping apart city-sized creatures, splitting the ground open and manipulating objects at speeds that the human eye couldn't even track. If you really think about it, she's one of the few characters that could actually react to Saitama's movements, even if only barely. And that's not even the scary part. The real danger is her mindset. Tatsumaki doesn't think like a hero, she thinks like a weapon. She's traumatized, raised in a lab, treated as a tool. So when she fights like someone with nothing left to lose. That's why her arrogance isn't ego, it's armor. She knows what she's capable of, and it terrifies everyone around her. Even Blast, the supposed top hero, shows respect for her abilities. You think that's a coincidence? No chance.
Tatsumaki's power was pouring out now. She demanded that he let her go, but Saitama didn't move, not backing down. Saitama insisted that she calm down first. Tatsumaki wasn't having it. She told him to shut up and get out of her way as she unleashed her power on him. This was enough to devastate the wall behind them and even lift them into the air. Saitama recognized it to be the same psychic power she'd used to send Genos flying in the past, but he wasn't really impressed. From his perspective, it wasn't much different from her sister's power level. Tatsumaki was confused and in disbelief. Meanwhile, completely horrified, Fubuki cried out to Saitama, telling him that he really didn't want to provoke her sister. Tatsumaki was only getting angrier and again demanded that he let her go as she released even more psychic pressure. This time, the power was strong enough to drill a massive hole into the wall, one that expanded a great distance away from the Hero Association headquarters. Saitama still wasn't letting her go and didn't move from his position, but it was enough to make him vibrate a bit. While he did this, Tatsumaki struggled to understand how he was enduring her power, not understanding why it wasn't working or what this guy even was. As Saitama rapidly shook, he wondered why his muscles were twitching on their own. Fubuki couldn't believe her eyes. Saitama was able to withstand her sister's full power. From there, Tatsumaki finally recognized Saitama as the bald guy who was with Genos. She wanted to know why he was butting in, wondering if he was...
Now imagine this. What if Tatsumaki ever went rogue? What if the same psychic power she uses to defend humanity turned against it? There wouldn't be an army big enough, not even the Hero Association could stop her. She could literally fold entire cities into themselves, crush S-class heroes before they could blink, and create natural disasters with a single thought. That's how far her potential really goes. It's not about who can punch harder, it's about who can rewrite the battlefield. Tatsumaki doesn't fight you head-on. She makes you fight the environment she controls. And that's a level of dominance even Saitama doesn't use.
Part of the Fubuki group too. which Saitama wasn't happy about at all. Saitama then loudly called out to Fubuki, who was caught off guard but answered quickly. Saitama planned on handling Tatsumaki, so it was up to Fubuki to evacuate everyone. Fubuki immediately agreed, seeing Saitama's familiarity with her little sister only pissed Tatsumaki off more. Since he denied being her underling, Tatsumaki wanted to know the nature of the relationship. Saitama wondered too for a moment. According to him, it wasn't like he was her friend. He wasn't her companion, or even a mutual friend. To him, they were just acquaintances. This statement seemed to devastate Fubuki. However, Tatsumaki was now amused as she continued to force her power. She wondered why he'd get this desperate over a simple acquaintance. Either way, now knowing this, Tatsumaki planned on testing the man to see if he deserved to be hanging all over Fubuki like this. Her wording here took Saitama off guard. According to him, Fubuki was the one who was always dragging him around without asking and being a total pain in the ass. But as he said that last word, Tatsumaki began the test with enough force to propel many of the members of the group. Thanks to this, the newly built Hero Association headquarters was already on the verge of collapse. The space around them began to distort. Laughing, Tatsumaki wondered how long the Baldy would be able to handle her power. Saitama then took his hold to the next level by pressing Tatsumaki's body onto his. Tatsumaki's eyes widened. She had never been so physically close to anyone before. Then they blasted straight through the roof. Launching far away and into the air, Saitama forced their fight outside. Fubuki looked up in astonishment. It was then that she knew Saitama versus Tatsumaki had officially begun. The two began falling just as quickly as they had risen and crashed down onto the crater-filled terrain like rocks being skipped across a pond. They spun and bounced several times. Tatsumaki was now flustered, wondering how long Saitama planned on holding on to her, calling him a pervert. Then Saitama noticed that they had stopped falling altogether and were now floating a few feet in the air. Tatsumaki then spun him rapidly, the speed continuing to ramp up. She twirled him around and around, trying her best to free herself from his hold. Then she slammed him directly into the ground, splitting it apart into a spray of rubble, but still Saitama never let her go. Tatsumaki didn't understand Saitama's intentions and wondered if he was into her or something. Saitama, on the other hand, wondered if she was just stupid. He was only doing this because he didn't want her to run off destroying houses again. This really struck a nerve for Tatsumaki, who wondered why the hell she'd run away from someone weaker than her. Saitama just looked at the pint-sized Esper with a tired expression on his face. Finally, he let her go, shaking her newly freed hand. Tatsumaki admitted that Saitama wasn't bad, at least. Then she raised the very same hand up at his face. She planned on kicking things up a notch by increasing the output of her psychic power just a bit.
People underestimate her because she doesn't have the one-punch meme factor. But if we're being honest, if Tatsumaki fought most of the anime verse, she's outmatching 90% of them. Telekinetic control, flight, area domination, durability, stamina. She's a walking natural disaster. The only reason she doesn't overshadow Saitama is because she has human limits mentally. But the moment she snaps those chains, she becomes something else entirely. That's why I say Tatsumaki is way stronger than you think. She's not just the second strongest hero, Mataz, she's the most dangerous. Because unlike Saitama, she feels pain, pride, and rage, and that makes her unpredictable. So here's the real question. If Tatsumaki ever went all out, who could stop her? Drop your answer in the comments. Do you think Saitama would still win easily, or would Tatsumaki finally make him try for once? Don't forget to like the video if you think Tatsumaki deserves more respect, and subscribe for more anime takes that'll get you arguing in the comments. Because trust me, we're just getting started with how deep One Punch Man's power scaling really goes.